Bună ziua! Bine ați venit la ediția 4-a a sesiunii științifice studențești NORD, perspective interdisciplinare. Stimate domnule prorector, domnule profesor Gladsen, domnule consilier Timothy Gerhardsen, doamna Damian, dragi studenți, sesiunea științifică studențească NORD, aflată azi la ediția a 4-a, s-a născut din colaborarea inițiată în 2016 cu Universitatea Națională din Užhorod, Ucraina, prin intermediul domnului profesor Taras Dațio. Voi încerca să prezint și în engleză, o să-mi scuzați engleza mea, influențată de franceză și de italiană. I apologize for my English. I speak French and Italian, and this sometimes influences my English accent. We managed to organize 4 editions in Baia Mare and 1 edition last year in Užhorod, and to publish 3 volumes with the works supported by students. The Faculty of Letters in Baia Mare, founded more than 60 years ago, has stood out over time as an important academic pole in the north of the country, attracting every year hundreds of students, as well as the visit of important personalities, among whom we mention the visit of the US Ambassador, Mr. Hans Klemm, in 2019. Facultatea de Litere are o foarte bună colaborare cu Comisia Fulbright, atrăgând în fiecare an bursieri americani care susțin activități didactice și culturale cu studenții noștri. Having a very good collaboration with the Fulbright Commission, the Faculty of Letters in Baia Mare attracts every year American scholars who support didactic and cultural activities with our students. Menționez că la ediția din 2019, sesiunea științifică studențească NORD a avut onoarea de a avea în deschidere, cu o prezentare în plen, pe doamna profesoară Elizabeth Lightfoot, directoarea școlii doctorale din Universitatea Massachusetts. Dear audience, today we have the honor to be visited by Mr. Timothy Gerhardsen, the Press and Culture Advisor of the US Embassy in Romania, who will give us an opening speech, and Mr. Professor Gladsen, professor from the Department of English at Montgomery College in Maryland, who will present us the topic digital storytelling. Welcome to our faculty. Înainte de a da cuvântul domnului Timothy Gerhardsen, îl rugăm pe domnul prorector, profesor universitar dr. Petrică Popsitar, să ne spună câteva cuvinte, după care îl vom invita la microfon pe domnul profesor Gladsen. Domnule prorector.
For the introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to participate at this event, the student conference, scientific conference, organized by my colleagues from the Faculty of Letters, together with the colleagues from the Faculty of Philology from the University of Užhorod, Ukraine. First of all, I would like to welcome our distinguished guests, Mr. Timothy Gerhardsen, who is press advisor and cultural advisor at the Embassy of United States in Bucharest, and Professor Gladsen, which is professor at the Montgomery College from Maryland, USA. I hope you enjoy these days at our university, and as well you enjoy the city and our beautiful country. you are welcome anytime. In addition, I would like to welcome the students from University of Uzhgorod who are going to participate online at this event. Unfortunately, not presently because of the tragical situation in Ukraine. And of course, I welcome and I thank you, all of you, for your presence. Our university, and especially the NORD University Center at Baia Mare, has a long and rich tradition of collaboration with Ukrainian universities, especially University of Uzhgorod and University of Ivano-Frankivsk. All these collaborations have been materialized by several research projects that we implemented, and some of them which are under implementation. Scientific mobilities of academic staff or students, and organization of conferences and student sessions. Within this framework is organized this event that started as the Dean of the Faculty of Letters mentioned in 2017 by collaboration with University of Uzhgorod and with the support of Professor Taras. Unfortunately, in 2020, we were not able to organize the conference because of the COVID pandemic. In 2021, it was organized online, and now this is organized in a hybrid format, so with physical participation from Romanian side and online by our friends from Ukraine. I would like just to mention that since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, our university stood in unity with the Ukrainian people in these tragic times, and we express our solidarity and full support for the grieving families affected by this irresponsible military action of Russia. In addition, we tried to help as much as possible, and we provided 200 places in our student dormitories, accommodation for Ukraine refugees, and we provided free meal at our university restaurant. At the moment, as far as I know, there are about 40 people still accommodated in our dormitories. At the end, I would like to wish you, to all of you, success in your presentation, and I hope you will have fruitful discussions, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Mulțumim domnului prorector. Ne pare rău că nu reușim să intrăm în legătură cu colegii de la Universitatea din Uzhgorod, probleme de internet și de război, din păcate. Acum îl invităm să ne spună câteva cuvinte pe domnul Timothy Gerhardsson, consilierul pentru presă și cultură al Ambasadei Statelor Unite ale Americii.
Thank you. There it is. Good morning. What a warm welcome we have had here at the University of Baia Mare. Thank you. I feel at home. I have had a chance to meet some of your poets, some of your photographers, some of your scholars and faculty already, and thank you for the hospitality of your leadership here. It's all about relationships, isn't it? It's all about the connection that we can make between our two countries or the countries in this region. And that really hits home when you see what's going on in Ukraine. So if you don't mind, in my remarks, I would like to focus a little bit on what's going on to the north of our border, about an hour away, in my remarks. But I did want to just start off and thank the Vice Rector. I want to thank the Dean for your hospitality and the really warm welcome. This is the first time I have been to Biomare, and it will not be the last. This is really an awesome place, and I want to congratulate you, the students. I want to congratulate your faculty and the leadership for your reputation for academic excellence. It's well received. You have a wonderful reputation, and it's a pleasure to be here representing the United States of America. I also just want to say thank you to Professor Amicia for your pursuit of the American Studies programs. I can't get enough of that, so thank you for promoting that. So in my remarks, I want to start off with a question. And again, I'm going to speak in English. I know we have an interpreter, but I'm going to be fairly short, and I'm going to talk as clearly as possible. If you don't understand me, wave your hand, and I'll talk louder. So my question is, do you remember what our world looked like on New Year's Day? Anybody remember what our world looked like on New Year's Day? Yeah. What were we doing on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2022? Remember what that day looked like? Our region, and indeed the world, look radically different than they did just a few months ago. We had finally emerged from the dark days of the pandemic, and we're thinking about, let's get back to normal, right? We were shaken again, this time by the bellicosity of Vladimir Putin. Where we now stand and what we witness daily on Europe's doorstep and on NATO's eastern border here in the Black Sea region was practically inconceivable just a couple months ago. Wasn't it? Imagine where we are today, imagine where we were on New Year's Day. But that all changed on February 24th. The worst and most brutal aspects of the Russian war machine were let loose upon your neighbor, Ukraine. Over the course of the last 3 months, we have seen Romania and its neighbors transition from NATO's eastern flank to NATO's eastern wall. We've seen Romania transition from NATO's eastern flank to NATO's eastern wall. We've been pulled back into dark years of the 20th century by a country who dismisses international order, breaks countless treaties, and violates the Geneva Convention. All headed by an individual who ignores and undermines diplomatic efforts and relies only upon his woefully undisciplined and undertrained military and gangs of lawless mercenaries and thugs. So, the solution to all of this war lies where? It lies in diplomacy. It lies in negotiation, as it has throughout all of history. Let us be clear about this right now. Russia was offered an entire olive tree's worth of diplomatic branches. Russia was offered an entire olive tree's worth of diplomatic branches in the period leading up to the invasion of Ukraine. But diplomacy requires what? Diplomacy requires good faith and a desire to avoid war, and Russia is currently unfamiliar with either. Putin and the world have certainly seen that NATO alliances has never been stronger. We are 30 countries that are so strong together because of this war, and it's incumbent upon us as allies to not despair, to not tire, but to find or to create the diplomatic paths which lead us off of this road of war. As it has been throughout countless challenges we have faced, from the pandemics to the recessions to wars, it is at times that I most appreciate that our two countries Romania and the United States do not face things alone. We are partners. We are together. Truly, these are times that try our souls, particularly here, 1 hour away. As you mentioned, sir, hosting some of the refugees. It is right here in our neighborhood. But we hope and we work to restore international order across the region. It is very reassuring that we do this together. Events such as this conference that we're at today, all of you participants in it are very informed and dedicated students and scholars and researchers, demonstrates to me that we are doing our very best, with our very best. For proof of this, one need look no further than your colleagues sitting next to you in the audience and the other speakers here today. So finally, for the students, I encourage you to take advantage of all the opportunities the U.S.-Romanian partnership offers. So it is my pleasure to introduce our first U.S. speaker from the U.S. Embassy from over 2 years, one of the U.S. best and brightest professors, Mr. Stephen Gladsen, for his presentation to you on digital storytelling, and I encourage you to find your voice for your digital stories. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
Înainte de a da cuvântul domnului profesor Stephen Gladsen, vreau să mulțumesc studenților și Ligii Studenților Pinteaviteazul, care ne ajută întotdeauna și fără de care activitățile noastre ar fi mult mai dificile. Vă mai anunț câteva chestiuni organizatorice. După prezentarea domnului profesor Gladsen, se va trece pe secțiuni. Și începând din acest an, vă spun ceva mai interesant. Lucrările cele mai bune vor fi premiate în bani, nu doar cu diplomă. Așa că o să aveți un stimulent în a prezenta cât mai bine lucrările dumneavoastră. Mâine, de la ora 10, tot aici în amfiteatru, vă invităm din nou la o prezentare în plen. Va veni o doamnă profesoară, Maria D'Arienzo, de la Universitatea din Napoli, pentru a comunica o lucrare pe teme de emigrare și integrare. Așa că vă invităm cu drag să veniți. Va vorbi în italiană, e mai accesibilă decât engleza mea. Așa că vă invităm cu drag. Mr. Professor, you have the floor.
Thank you. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Swoon, there lived a princess who could not sleep. The first night she tossed and turned from sunset to sunrise. After about a week of this, she grew very tired, but still she could not sleep. The king, who was also feeling a little sad about the recent death of his wife, the queen, noticed that something was wrong. It takes kings a little time to notice things sometimes. They have other things to do. So, being worried about his daughter, he decided he would bring in the court and find the best specialists in the land to cure his daughter of sleeplessness.
A fost odată ca niciodată în regatul Reveriei o prințesă care nu putea să doarmă. În prima noapte, când a început acest film, se învârtea de la apusul soarelui până la răsărit. După o săptămână, a devenit foarte obosită și nu a mai putut să doarmă. Regele, care era de asemenea trist din cauza faptului că recent îi murise soția, a început să observe că ceva nu merge bine. El a dat ordin curții regale să găsească cei mai buni specialiști pentru a vindeca fata. Mai întâi, prințesa a avut o programare la doctor. Doctorul i-a verificat temperatura.
First, the princess had an appointment with the doctor. I can understand that. The doctor, he checked her blood pressure. He took her height and her weight. He asked her to close her eyes and touch her finger to her nose. And then he prescribed her a secret potion. You know. Yeah. And it had hydroxytryptophan, gamma-aminotric acid, melatonin, St. John's wort. The medicine made her feel very tired, but still, she could not sleep. Second,
acest doctor i-a verificat temperatura și acest doctor i-a verificat temperatura și tensiunea. A făcut-o să își închidă ochii și a atins nasul. Mai apoi, i-a prescris o poțiune secretă care conținea anumite ingrediente ciudate, melatonină, acid aminobutic și altele. Chiar un extract de sunătoare. Acest medicament a făcut-o însă să fie mult mai obosită. Nu a putut să doarmă.
Next, the princess was visited by a witch doctor, also called a psychiatrist. He asked her, so what is bothering you? Please, sit down and tell me, what is really bothering you? The princess said, climate change. I miss my mother. I feel a little bit lonely. And, other things. I'm worried about my weight. I need too much pizza. After their talk, the witch doctor said, so now that we've had a chance to talk for a while, do you feel as though you will be able to sleep? And the princess said, you know what? Really, my problem was not about talking. My problem was about sleeping. And still she could not sleep.
Excuse me for just interrupting you for a second.
Yeah.
I would like to ask if actually anybody needs a translation in Romanian or not?
Să întrebăm în limba română. Este cineva care nu înțelege limba engleză și este nevoie de interpretare? Mâna sus, vă rog.
Da, dat în engleză.
So it's okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was enjoying it myself, but thank you.
Sorry.
It was a wonderful. Okay, so where were we? We had the doctor, right, and then the witch doctor. We had him, and then the king said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. Nothing's working." He ordered the court to plan a grand tournament, right, like they used to have in old England, Shakespeare. And we will invite all the best knights from across the land. We will have horseback riding contests. We will have sword fighting. We will have drinking contests, of course. We will have jousting, etc. And the winner, the best knight, will marry the princess. Okay? And he thought, okay, well, that's a good idea because in this one way, you will solve the problem of the loneliness and then maybe the princess will be able to sleep, and everything will be solved, and the kingdom will be fine again. But, you know, the princess thought this was a really stupid idea. Because, first of all, she was an excellent horseback rider herself. She's a very good sword fighter also. She felt that she could beat any of the knights herself. And really, she didn't want to get married, and she certainly didn't want to marry a knight. Well, we're going to stop there, because I want to ask you some questions. What have I just been sharing with you? What do you call this sort of thing?
Fairy tale?
Louder, anyway?
A fairy tale?
A fairy tale, excellent, thank you. What makes something a fairy tale? Why is this a fairy tale?
Once upon a time.
It's got a once upon a time, that's like a fairy tale, excellent. What else?
Well, it has fantastic elements to it.
Fantastic elements, things that are not realistic, excellent. What else?
Princess knights.
Sorry?
Princesses and knights.
Princesses and knights and kings and yeah, all these things, great. Anything else?
Learn us real life lesson in a more enjoyable perspective.
Okay, well, I'm thinking also, you know, working between reality or realism and fantastical, also that's a fairy tale thing. Anyone else? One or two more things?
Fictional kingdom.
A fictional kingdom, excellent. What's the name of the kingdom? Don't worry, I made it up. It's called the Kingdom of Swoon. Raise your hand if you know what swoon means. It's an unusual word in English, swoon. You know, it's a kind of a romantic thing. It comes in many forms, but it's a bit like fainting, when all of a sudden you just, oh, you fall down. And don't worry, it's not a real thing. What else can you call this? It's a fairy tale. What's another word for tale? A story. Who said a story? Thank you so much. You can go to sleep now. Please take it until the second half, okay? So here's what I wanted to tell you well, I should tell you who I am. I am talking about digital storytelling. I came to Romania to speak with students about this new, well, not really so new, tool that we're using in education in the United States, in England, all across the world, and show you how this might be a pedagogy, a style of teaching and learning that may work for you across the disciplines. So when I found that this conference was an interdisciplinary conference, like the ones that I run at my college, I work in the integrative studies, it's the same meaning, right? That it was wonderful to hear this. It's a perfect fit, because this digital storytelling tool can be used for many different purposes. Right? It can be used in the Faculty of Letters to tell our own stories. We often find that other people are telling our stories for us, so it's a good idea, I think, sometimes for us to use our own voices to tell our own stories. That's one use, and that's what I'm going to give you a chance to do today. There's also opportunities for information, for sharing ideas about, well, I mentioned climate change, for using digital stories to get people thinking about the problems we have and how we might address them. So lots of different uses, right? As I said, I come from Montgomery College. It's in the state of Maryland. Anybody familiar with the state of Maryland in the United States? No, right? Of course not. You know California though, right? That's where I was born, so it's okay. Yeah, I come from Maryland, state of Maryland, and we run this digital storytelling project. And really it has, as a partnership with the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, it's our state, one of our state universities, and the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Practice. Smithsonian is our national museum in the United States, so if you have that. So we put this together, and I said, I want to give you ideas about why you might want to create a digital story yourselves, and I'm going to give you a chance to start in the second half. Here's one reason. We will be hosting, in June 2022, there is an international conference of digital storytelling in England. It's still remote. In 2023, we'll have the first live, in-person International Conference of Digital Storytelling in Washington, D.C. And this is organized by Montgomery College, my college, University of Maryland, and Smithsonian. So I'm thinking, if somebody here or some groups here make some really good digital stories, I wonder if you might come, and I'd be so happy to welcome you back in the United States. So lots of people from around the world will be sharing. Who knows? Maybe some of you will want to share also in that conference. Okay, a few more things. We want to talk first about the theory, like what is story, what is digital story, and then again, in the second half, we're going to get started on making some digital stories. Is that all right? Is that a good plan? Okay, let's do it. Let's start here with another 2 stories. I can't stop telling stories. So. These are very short, don't worry. What I'm asking you is, what's the difference between these 2 stories? Ready? Here's the first one. Can somebody read this for me? Anyone?
The king died.
Go ahead. Someone here?
The king died.
And?
And then the queen died.
Excellent. Story number 1. Ready for story number 2? Remember, you're going to tell me the difference. Somebody read this one, please. Please.
The king died, then the queen died of grief.
Thank you. What's the difference?
The grief.
The grief. Great. Take a nap. Your turn to get some sleep. You can wake up in the second half. What is the difference between the 2? I know that there are students here from the Faculty of Letters. What can you tell me about the difference between these 2?
The king probably died peacefully, the queen not so much.
Aha! Yes. So in our critical theory study of literature, that would be one of the very first things we think of. Thank you. I agree. What else?
Now we know the cause of which the queen died.
Thank you. You also can take a nap. You don't need me. We know the cause. So in this example, we have causation, and this is called plot. I borrowed this one. I didn't make up this story, at least. I borrowed this one from the British novelist E.M. Forster. Probably know him. The Room with a View and Passage to India, Howard's End. And so this is plot. And one of the essential ingredients to story is plot, causation. Why did one thing happen after another, right? We really want this when we read stories. What else do we really want as ingredients of stories? What else really makes stories successful? Can you think of other things?
Characters.
Characters, thank you very much. So we have plot, we have characterization. Who are the characters in the story I told you?
The king and the queen.
King and the queen, great, okay. So, and the witch doctor, and and with causation, characterization, what else?
The world.
The world.
The place.
The place. In my story, what was the place? Remember? Kingdom of Swoon. Everybody's going to remember the swoon thing in the future. You're going to go to Google Earth, right? Say, where's the Kingdom of Swoon? Don't bother, it doesn't exist. So we have setting, we call that, right? Setting is both the place and the time, right? So those are essential ingredients, or usually ingredients or elements of narration or story. Can you think of anything else?
The hero.
We have a hero. Yeah, so often we have a hero. Many stories include heroes. Yeah. Sorry?
The dilemma.
We have a kind of dilemma or intrigue somewhere that puts us on a trajectory, like a progression like this in story. That's great. Anything else?
The bad guys.
We have some bad guys. It's good to have some bad guys for every story, You watch Netflix, I guess. And, okay, so the next thing I want to do is, okay, so that's story. We got story, right? Everybody knows about story. Now we want to find out, well, what makes digital story special? So, and also, we're thinking in the back of our minds, when I make my own digital story, how can I make it as good as possible? What are the things that I want to use in my own story, okay? So, we've got some ideas about what makes a story effective. Now we want to think about what makes a digital story effective. And for this, I really want to do it sort of the other way around. I just want to show you some examples, okay? This is the way I like to do it. Instead of telling you what works, I want you to see some of this. And And think about it in this way. So first of all, digital stories, our definition is fluid, it's always changing, but usually digital stories will use the creator's voice. That is the voice, you know, their ideas and things, and also the actual voice, or literal voice, right? Their speaking voice. So you're gonna get a chance to do this. Also, we use images, video, sound, sometimes text, animation. All of these things make digital storytelling different from just the story that someone's telling or the one that you read on the page, right? So Romeo and Juliet, there it is on the page, but in a digital story, it can be quite different with all these things. And here's another thing. Digital storytelling is usually done in a group. So this collaboration is an important part of the process. So we'll talk about the process, but keep this in mind, okay? All right, so I'm gonna switch over here now. And after I show you this example video, if I can figure out where to find it, I think I can. Here we go, here's Google. Google has everything, right? Here's, okay. These are examples of digital stories from our students at Montgomery College. So these are just students just like yourselves who made these digital stories. They had 3 or 4 weeks to do this. You have the next 20 minutes. Good luck. But I did want to just show you, give you some examples. So think about what works, what makes these digital stories, what are their ingredients, what are their elements, and then we'll see if you can do some of this too. The first one is called Eternal Mud, and let's see if the sound works, because as you know, sound is going to be important.
I think first things first, we need a story who can grab up the attention of the audience. Then,
we'll watch I want to do it the other way. I want to show you an example first, and then get your ideas. You have to watch it first. Ready, set, go.
Lord represents the core of wisdom that he wants shared with me. Each of the footprints represent the wisdom that he left with me. His story is only a portion of his influence, and only a fragment of what he truly represents. This is Lincoln Ride. Professor Lincoln Rhodes was born in Washington, D.C. After graduating from high school, he worked in a number of trades, including roofer and catering shop. After initially studying printmaking, he received his MFA in sculpture. Beyond his studio works, he also worked in creative writing and comparative literature. His sculpture practice includes a specialty in metal casting. He has attended numerous art residencies and received an Individual Artist Award from the Maryland State Arts Council in 2003. Lincoln Rhodes was a patient and understanding professor. Some of the approach to teaching led me to appreciate the artistic process of creation. Lincoln Rhodes once said, "The total thing to my project is just this idea that to come up with a complex or imaginative creative artistic creation entails more than just sort of a personal exploration. That's often part of it, and the artist sort of reflects things through their personal prism. But you have to engage in research outside of just your personal experience." Prior to passing away, Professor Rhodes created his final piece of artwork titled Portamento. Portamento translates to a slide from one note to another, especially in singing or playing a bowstring instrument. In a sense, Portamento can be defined as a transition. Professor Rhodes taught me many valuable lessons. The most important one of them all was that creation
Yes. Okay, so I said I would ask you some questions about this example first, and then we'll see another example video completely different. So, first of all, I always ask my students, thumbs up or thumbs down? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And I ask you to be honest. So these are just student productions, right? We got thumbs down, 2 thumbs down, we got a thumbs up, we got thumbs up, we got another thumbs up, we got any more, one more thumbs up. How many thumbs, yeah, 1, 2, 3 thumbs up, okay. So as you can see, you know, it's a creative piece. Some people will like it, some people won't. I can tell you one element, the audio, that's one ingredient that is so important. We'll be talking about writing an effective script for your digital story. An important part is writing a good script. Short, clear script. And then recording your script. So you'll use some kind of microphone to record the script. In this case, once he recorded it, the sound is quite good on the original. I think it may be that the sound is not so good here on the speaker. So it's hard to hear, right? Some of it, a little bit. But what about this? What about the voice? How did you feel about that? That's an important ingredient. Can you tell me a little bit about what you thought of the voice? What was it like? Yes?
Well, it was quite calm and warm and soft, and it was nice to be very, so to listen to it. It wasn't like very tiring or.
So it was engaging, not boring. Okay, good. And you said it was calm, kind of slow. Why do you think this speaker chose that kind of voice? Because it fits the story. I think that's excellent. You can take a nap now too. So yeah, it kind of fits the story, right? It's kind of an ode, trying to reminisce about this important teacher or professor in the student's life. And the tone of the voice fits that story. So tone will be an important part of your script and also the recording itself as well. What other ingredients did you find in this?
The art.
Say that again?
The art. The art.
The art, right. So what kind of art did it have in it?
Weird one.
Weird one. Yeah. Avant-garde, weird new art. Huh? But it was interesting to see some examples of the art. How did they appear, at least in the video, the art?
The first one was the footsteps.
The footsteps?
The muddy footsteps.
So you saw still pictures of footsteps, and then at some point you also saw a video clip, right? So combination of still pictures and video we saw in this. Those are ingredients of digital storytelling also. What else? We got the audio, we got still pictures, we have video. Anything else?
Mr. Mudd.
We had a picture of Professor Mudd, and what was next to the picture? Text. Thank you very much. So text also comes into this. And there was text in one other slide, did you notice? What is the definition of portmanteau? Did you see that? What's the definition there? A still picture, basically a screen capture, right, from dictionary.com or some dictionary, right? That's also what was used here. Okay, so that's great. That's one digital story. You can think about how that one was done. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. Okay, now let's see if I can play you one more here and also ask you these additional questions. What fascinates you? What does it make you want to know more about the digital storytelling process? And how would you define a digital story after you've had a chance to watch two? So let's see if we can do this. You'll see that this second example video is quite different from the first one. It uses these ingredients or elements in different ways, and it tells a different kind of story. Right, second.
In decisions, they say that the choices you make you. And they also say that you can have a lot, but not all at once. There comes a decisive moment in our lives when things could have gone in a different direction if the other choice was chosen. a fork in the road. I had it all. I thought life couldn't get any better. I knew what I wanted, and I was such a get it. I was home. I was working in the hospitality industry. I enjoy working with people, and I was lucky to have been in a working environment which provided me growth. I was involved in local content projects, traveling to different places, learning so many things I didn't know about. I dared to dream big dreams, and I was achieving them one by one. I met someone who became one. We two were one. We understood each other more than anyone, and we've been through tough times together. Love is what we felt for one another. The feeling of loving someone and having a love that's complicated is amazing. Friends, family, the love of my life, a promising career, all seems to be seen as we preparing for life. Just then, an opportunity to further my education in the United States of America arose. It has been my lifelong dream to pursue higher education in the USA. But taking this opportunity means leaving behind what I have. I had to choose. It was such an indecisive moment for me. Being able to choose is a privilege. I should be happy that I get to make a choice. Instead, I was sad, confused, I cried a lot. The power of choices can be so strong. When you choose, you are responsible for the consequences of your choice. I made my choice, and today I'm here furthering my studies in the USA. I made this choice because I understand the importance of education. Education is the resource I need to contribute to my community. I've chosen to work on this road. Will I have regrets? I'm not quite sure. The future is never certain. But what's certain is now. What matters is to keep moving forward, and that's what I'm doing. Moving forward in the road I've chosen.
Okay, so once again, the question. We need this criticism and feedback right away. So what elements did you find in this digital story, and how were they different from the previous one? But first, thumbs up or thumbs down? Oh, this time we have thumbs up. Oh, lots of thumbs up. Many people like this one. The audio was still a little funny, right? It's difficult to hear some stuff. Sorry?
It's a different approach.
It's a different approach. In what way is it a different approach?
Yeah, the images are more dynamic, the message is clear, the text is awesome, the graphic is awesome.
Okay, great. So let's pick that one out. I think it's a good one. The text, the graphics, right? Yeah. So how they appear on the screen, maybe more engaging. Yeah. There is animation. So sometimes we use animation to bring them to the front or put them behind. That can be an effective tool for a good digital story. All good ideas. Anything else? What did you like? Yes?
To be honest, at first I felt like I watching an ad because the storytelling tried to caught our attention there, and there was that black guy at 1 second. That is the part that the product could be promoted.
Yeah, I
think in an ad, but
yeah.
That storytelling, that way of storytelling, are usually used by the promoters to make ads.
Yeah.
That is a successful way to do it.
It must be good because the marketers wouldn't make the advertisements, the commercials without it, right? So yeah, it looks a little bit like an ad for an airline or something, right? Southwest Airlines, here we go. But there's nothing effective about it, right? That's kind of a criticism that I agree with. Anything else? How about some more criticism? What did you not like?
It seems very self-centered.
Self-centered, great. I think that's important. We have to figure out how much do we want to share something, our own voice, but also think about how does the audience take what we say. So we have to keep the audience in mind when we're writing the script. Anything else about it? Problems that some people saw. What about the script? Think about when this student wrote the script, put the words down. What about the words she chose? How did you feel about them?
Too common.
The what?
Too common.
Too common. Right. We call that cliché, right? We borrowed the word from French, cliché. And if you're going to make a script, and you're going to need to choose the words anyways, right? Make it fresh. Why use some old, tired old words? So it's a good idea to find just the fresh, new way to express yourself in the words. Okay, so those are the two examples. Now we want to switch over and start thinking about how do we start our own digital stories? Because we want to start today, right here, before you leave. So let's try it. We use something called a story circle. But first, we have to choose a topic. And I've given you, in the piece of paper in front of you, I hope everyone was able to get one, I gave you some prompts. We call these in English classes in the United States. And these prompts are the assignment that my students receive. So you're not required to use one of these prompts. You can adapt these prompts to suit your own needs, your own experiences, right? They don't have to be exactly like these, but it's a good place to start, okay? We're going to start by looking at these, but each of the prompts asks you to identify a moment in your life when perhaps something changed. So, for this English class, that's what my students do. Now, if you were in a psychology class with my colleague, it would be a different assignment, or in history, or in engineering, or in math. We use digital storytelling in all of these fields. But this is one that you can use for here. And it's important to note that finding the one moment, an event in your life can really make things easier down the road. It's difficult, I know, but an important moment can really focus our attention. And as the faculty of letters students, you probably are aware of this, the idea of the unity of, the old ancient drama, unity of time, unity of place, the four unities. So that unity of time would be important. What's that moment in your life? And also, were you aware of it at the time? So that moment when something important happened to you, did you know it was going to be life-changing at that time? Or did you only learn that it was so life-changing later, or perhaps now, when you're looking back? And that's the other reason we use digital storytelling in our classes. So for the faculty in the room, if you are interested, if you're thinking about doing this, one advantage is it's a great vehicle for reflection. That very important part of education, right? How do we get our students to look back at the semester, at the course, at anything, and think about what have I learned, or how have I changed as a result of this course? So those are some questions to ask yourself. Here's some more. How does this moment convey meaning in your story? Are you able to describe it in detail? Do you have a bunch of pictures that you're going to be able to use, right? All of those things. All right, so let's talk about this story circle. Central to the idea of digital storytelling. This is the one that we use in my class. But again, I've got 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, to do this assignment. You may not have as much time, but it's a good place to start. So we start with something called brainstorming. Do you use brainstorming in any of your classes here? Can anyone tell me? Yes? Use brainstorming? What is brainstorming?
Certain ideas that come and then you develop them.
Write down any idea that comes into your head based upon the topic. Anything. It's not the time to judge. Put everything down, right? We use it in education. We use it in business, right? You go to a business meeting. That's what the boss wants you to do in the group. So brainstorming, we do that. And then the next step is to draft the script. I'm hoping that we can even begin this part today, if we have enough time, and I'll check the time in a moment. And then also, we do it as a group, or we collaborate. And this is where we share the script with someone else. We won't have enough time to get to this point today. But it's such an important part to find a small group of people that you can trust, perhaps, and to share your script with them, and to get some feedback. This is what I do when I make a digital story. I encourage you to do the same thing. Okay? And some of these, perhaps the more technical parts, we won't have time, but I can tell you briefly how you can do it. I suspect most people with your technology, most people, you have an iPhone, you probably know how to do this part. And I can tell you 2 tools which will help you to do this part too. I should write them down. These are the tools that my students use. So we use something called Video. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
All right, so you already know Video. You can get it on your phone as the app. There's a free version. Don't pay for it. Take the free version, please. And then if you need more room later, space, then you can do it later. Also, there is it used to be called Adobe Spark. Now it is called Adobe Creative something.
Adobe Creative Cloud.
Cloud, thank you. Oh, okay, so you guys know exactly, you don't need me to talk about this. But yeah, you can go ahead and find it on your phone. And I have my students use this one first, but some choose this one. This one is a little bit more advanced, perhaps, more ways to use. This one has a very simple template where you can go bloop, 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 and make it, but they're both quite good. All right, I'm going to skip ahead now because I have given you some ideas for your own story. And at this moment, I want you to choose from among these options. Option A, option D, option C, D, or E. The first one is this. Describe your cultural heritage or heritages. More than 50% of my students are international students at Montgomery College. So some of them are dual heritage. They have mother from here, father from here. The same as me. My mother's family comes from Uzhhorod and from eastern Slovakia and northern Romania. That's part of why I'm here. My mother's 86. I'm going to try to tell her about where her own family was from. But so that's one thing you could do. And talk about it in relation to food. So food rituals, food traditions. And you might have a moment where you learn something about your own cultural identity from one of these food traditions. That's a picture from one of my kids with, what do you think that holiday is that she's got the food there for?
Thanksgiving?
No.
Mother's Day.
No.
Halloween.
It's the love holiday that we celebrate in Valentine's Day. Exactly. So that's an example, but you could choose a different one, right? So I made one about Easter. You could do it on anything like that. Okay, next. Recount a true story about a cultural tradition. A wedding is a good one. A funeral. So funerals typically have some cultural attributes, right? It's different in Nigeria than it is in Romania, so that's another possibility. Graduation is often that. So one that you took part in personally, and remember, you're trying to find the moment. A real story about something that happened to you. And then this one. Explore a trip that you have taken alone or with others, and how that trip has led to some type of change in your life. So when you took the trip, I'm on a long trip right now, I'm hoping to discover something either about myself or about the places I visit that will in some way change my idea of my own identity. Maybe I'll learn something about my mother's roots, and I'll think, differently about myself now, having met so many Romanians and so many Slovaks and so many Hungarians, etc. Unfortunately, I was unable to go to Ukraine, but that's next time. I can't wait. So this is an option. Are you ready? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to, there's one more option there, find the one person who influenced your decision to go to university or influenced your decision to choose your major or field of study. It could be a parent, it could be a professor, it could be a coach. And this person who really gave you that motivation to succeed. And then think about what were the moments, or the moment that really captures that influence. Okay? All right. I should stop talking because now it's a good chance for you to brainstorm. How much time do we have?
15 minutes.
15, perfect, okay. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm. We're going to brainstorm for about 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I find that's about the right amount of time. You can take this paper and turn it over, and with a pencil or pen on the back, you can write down all of the ideas that come to you on your selected topic. So write them all down on the back of that piece of paper. I urge you to write them down. I know that you can do it here. I know that you could use notes or something on your phone. That's okay. But I think there's something about writing them down by your hand. Okay? We're going to do it in 7 minutes. I'll tell you when to start, and I'll tell you when to stop. And then I'm going to ask for your ideas, and then I'll tell you what to do next. Ready? Set. Go. That shows actual events. That's going to help a lot. Choose the moment, right? Now, the next step is you brainstorm, you have some ideas. Keep doing it. You may need more time. That was too short, of course. The next thing is my students will write a script. That's the order. So after they brainstorm, and there are some challenges with brainstorming, but they also write a script. And before I left, I asked Montgomery College students, I said, I'm going to Romania. I will be speaking with Romanian students. Can you please share some insights about your own experiences with the process? And this is what they shared. So the next step, first step was brainstorming, and it can be very difficult to get it going. Your creativity sometimes is difficult. Don't stop, just try to put one more thing down. It can be difficult. Next step is writing the script. Here's what I recommend. Write a script of about 250 words. It's very short. Okay? It can be one page, on a computer-generated document. Just 250 words. Keep it very clear. Pay attention to your word choice and focus. Focus on one event. Try to keep it narrow and focused. The feedback that you receive in the next step, and that's when you share your script, so important. Often the feedback is this, I can tell you from experience. Your partners will tell you, you're trying to tell too many stories. That's the feedback I get. Right? So they say there's 3 stories here. You should focus just on one of those stories. So keep this in mind as you're beginning. And again, even though some people like to work alone, I still want you to try to work with other people. So that's where we are. You brainstorm, chose a topic. Next, you're going to write a script. When's your final exams or projects? When are they coming up?
Next week.
Next week. Do it after that. This is not a mandated or a required assignment, right? But after you're finished with your exams and you feel more relaxed, write the script. And then that will give you a chance to share with one person or 2 people or maybe 3 people. See what they say. You can go back and look on YouTube at Montgomery College Digital Storytelling to see some other examples if you want. It's on YouTube, it's open, no privacy problems. And then you will write your script and then you will record the audio. One tip about this before you go on to these steps, which I don't have time to tell you about, my students have learned that sometimes recording the audio, you're going to read the script that you've written, right? They find that it's often best to just use the phone, if you have a phone, and the mic that is in the earphones, you know what I mean? The earphones in, put the mic on, especially if you're in a closet or even in a car, close the doors, and you have the better audio that way. So those are the steps that I can offer you just to get started. And again, let me say how much I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. It's really wonderful, and I'm very impressed with what you've been able to do just in this short time. I mean, you have answered all the questions and so forth, so I'm going to tell my students back home how smart you are. All right, thanks again. Thanks so much.
Mulțumim tare mult domnului profesor pentru prezentare. Thank you very much for your presentation. Și îl mai așteptăm și cu alte ocazii și în anii care vin. Așteptăm. Oricum, românii au așteptat mulți ani americani și au venit americanii. Mulțumim, dar de la 12 se intră pe secțiuni. Da? Fiecare vă căutați, o să vă aducem și programele. Atenție cum prezentați lucrările, că se premiază. Cu bani. Mulțumim, mult succes! Vă așteptăm